Bienvenidos! I'm Rich Pratt. I'm the director of the Cropping Systems Research Innovation Program here at NMSU, and we're standing this morning at the sign by the Student Research and Education Gardens, where it really is all about discovery. It's about the discovery that our students want to engage in hands-on learning about sustainable agriculture. And NMSU responded. And we started this program in 2012. And it's grown, it keeps on growing, and we really hope to grow it well into the future. So I hope you'll join me this morning as we visit some of the undergraduate independent studies research plots, some of the graduate student research plots, and some of the research that our researchers are doing funded by the Organic Research and Extension Initiative from the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. Well, this test plot looks pretty good. Here we have what we call strip plots of barley. It's a solid mass planting of barley the entire length of the field. Why are we planting barley? Well, it's really kind of an underutilized crop. It's very drought tolerant, heat tolerant, salt tolerant, and it makes really rapid vegetative growth if it's planted late in the summer. That's what we've done here. We've done this planting at double the normal seed rate so that the barley will really outcompete the weeds, which it seems to be doing quite well. Now, there are potential problems when you get a very high stand density like that. There may be some lodging, and we are seeing it in some of the varieties. So how did we get to the point where we are today? Why did we do this particular study? We started several years ago asking the question, would wheat or triticale or oats or barley be a good choice for weed suppression and for reducing dust erosion, the loss of this valuable topsoil during the winter? So if we plant late in the summer, we can hold this soil and we can suppress weeds through the winter period if we have a really dense stand to outcompete the weeds. Again, growers might say, well, I don't want to invest the extra effort and the cost of the inputs. Here we've got one pre-plant irrigation and one post-plant irrigation, and that's all. That's all the irrigation that we're putting in this field. So we're really talking about economizing our water use. Again, barley is a crop that's suited to that. Will all barley varieties perform equally? We're not sure. So last year we tested 7 different barley varieties sourced in the western United States. Here are 3 that looked the best last year, plus one we found in a cold room in Tucson, and we're really excited about it. It's called Seco, and it was released right around 1990, and it wasn't picked up for commercial use, but it was bred specifically for low water use. It was called a 1 irrigation barley. So it was tested quite a bit in Arizona, but it hasn't been tested in New Mexico. So that's what we're doing. And here is Seco barley, and so far it's looking really good. We are outstanding in the field. This is a field of landrace corn or maize, and a lot of these varieties have disappeared from cultivation in the last decades. I've got an ear here of what we would call Mexican June corn. It's really become difficult to find, but what we've learned is a lot of these traditional or landrace varieties are really good for human food products. So much of maize improvement in the last century has really been directed toward feeding livestock. So rediscovering some of these really good tasting land races that also make great tortillas, for example, is pretty important to me. Another thing that's really exciting to me is that we've been able to join with other folks along the food supply system, and we're working together to revitalize the production of blue maize in New Mexico. Blue maize is really the gem of New Mexico, and I'm going to husk back an ear of blue corn from New Mexico. It's a beautiful blue. Some are lighter blue, some are darker blue, but blue corn makes great blue corn tortillas. Years ago, an extension specialist did a study where he examined the nutritional content of landrace varieties of blue corn and commercial corn belt dent corn. It looked like the blue corn had a little bit higher nutritional value. Well, we did a very thorough study, and we did find that there is a bit more nutritive value in this landrace blue corn. When California experienced that terrible drought in recent years, they came up with a slogan about more crop per drop in agriculture. And I like to think beyond that and think about maximizing not just the crop, but the profitability for producers and the quality of unique crops that we can grow that perhaps require a little bit less water. We feel that a lot of these traditional varieties from the Southwest might have a little bit better drought, heat, and salinity tolerance. So we're conducting those experiments in cooperation with scientists at the Ag Science Centers and in collaboration with producers. And we're very excited about increasing the production of these traditional crops in New Mexico. Welcome to the Bean Research Plot. Everybody in New Mexico knows that chili is the official state vegetable, but did you know that pinto beans are the official co-state vegetable? Right here are pinto beans, a real favorite in New Mexico and in many places. And you can see the relatively large leaf size of these pinto beans and the pod size. They grow really well in certain parts of the state where they're not challenged too much by summer heat or drought. There's another bean variety that not too many people have heard of that really is pretty drought tolerant and heat stress tolerant. It's called the tepary bean. You can see that it has a smaller leaf. That helps it shade the canopy and prevent some of that heat load during really high temperatures. And if we open up the pod and take a look at these beans, we'll also see that they're a little bit smaller than the pinto beans. There's another very interesting thing, another type of bean that I'm going to add to that collection, and those are wild tepary beans. They grow in the semi-arid regions of Mexico and the southwestern United States. So this is the ancestral bean of the modern cultivated tepary bean. So we have an example here of a really well-adapted crop to our environment, but something that isn't very well known. We feel it's also potentially a cover crop because, as you can see how well it covers the soil surface, that provides competition for weeds. So we can also call this type of cover crop a smother crop. A lot of growers are hesitant to plant cover crops, even though they provide really beneficial services to the cropping system. They're concerned about putting money in, putting inputs into something that may not have a ready cash market. So the tepary bean, I think, offers some other advantages, perhaps as a forage crop, perhaps as a cover and smother crop. Like other legume species that form an association with certain strains of bacteria, beneficial bacteria in the soil, to form what we call nodules. Those nodules will fix nitrogen from the atmosphere. So crops like tepary bean and common bean and other legume species can help enrich the soil nutrient status for subsequent crops. So this is one crop that is a traditional crop here in the Southwest and semi-arid regions of Mexico. We think it may have a role in helping keep agriculture resilient well into the future in New Mexico. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. It was a great visit out in the field. As you can see, we're working year-round on very limited resources, but we're trying to make the greatest impact that we can. The resilience of agriculture in New Mexico in the future is a very important topic. And thanks to the Thornburg Foundation and the Kellogg Foundation for supporting those critical conversations about resilience of agriculture in the future. We have another opportunity to support this kind of research and education, and that's through the Agroecosystems Innovation Professorship. On Giving Tuesday, we have a challenge match from generous donors who've stepped forward. We hope that you will contribute to that professorship. This is a big opportunity for us. We'd sure appreciate your help very much. Thank you from all of us at NMSU ACES.